You raise your kids, you send them off, and you think it's finally your turn. Just when you think life is giving you a little bit of space, the phone rings, and suddenly it's not. Welcome back to Who Are You Now? I'm Chrissie Morgan. We're continuing our mini-series, The Unexpected, where we're exploring the life changes you never planned for, the roles you never expected, and the truths that rise when life takes a turn. The kids are off to college, you've done the hard work of raising them, and maybe you've even started dreaming again. But instead of freedom, you're being pulled into yet another direction of caregiving. For many of us in midlife, that means caring for aging parents. It's a season few of us prepare for, and it can feel overwhelming, isolating, and even unfair. This is what I call the squeeze, the middle place where the kids still need you for some things, and your parents need you for others, and your own dreams feel like they're getting pushed into the background. Today, I'm joined by Donna Cespon Benedict, who is living this very shift. Donna's story is honest, raw, and deeply relatable. She's going to share what it feels like to navigate this unexpected season, the emotional and practical challenges, and the truth she's uncovered along the way. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So we're going to just jump right in. Can you walk us through what life was looking like as the kids were one by one sort of gaining more independence, leaving for college, and how your parents' needs came into the picture?
One thing that's important to mention is that I think when you ask me of this, that it can be really different depending on when did you have your kids, when your parents have your kids, and you see the difference of what that's going to look like. So I could see as my children were getting older that my parents were, you can see them starting to degenerate. But the real issue is when you see how they are going to bump up against you instead of, you can kind of foresee a plan and you think, okay, maybe it's going to go this way. It doesn't land how you expect it. And sure. I think that's been the hardest part. And then it affecting my life and everybody else's life that, like as a mom, you're such a center of the household and you see how you're affecting everybody else's life.
Oh, for sure. So you kind of saw it coming, or you kind of saw it that it could play out certain ways, but it never plays out the way we hope to.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah, we saw it coming. And I know my husband and I would talk about it. And he and I both felt that the best thing would have been my parents had a house that was in Fullerton, which would be a little bit more between me and my sister who is doing the primary care. But my parents didn't want to move, kept saying, well, my friends are still there and alive. And then as they slowly died off, you still couldn't get them to see the benefit of that because they don't know what kind of care they're going to be getting from you or your sibling. And that's been a big frustrating thing is like, I think I would do things differently if you had been closer and right. I could have played a big role in helping.
And the stability factor for them, like that house is where it's their home.
Right. I get that.
And so not knowing what it's going to be like somewhere else. And it's a little bit of a false intention of, oh, we have our network up here. Because like, as you said, as people either start dying off or they get sick themselves, your parents aren't thinking about who they're going to call to go to lunch right now with.
No, and their network is not even a network anymore. It reminds me of like, why don't you guys just put a can with strings across the street? Because that's about how effective your communication is, your interaction. Yeah. It's not like when they're getting older and ailing that they're going to go out, like you said, go out to coffee anymore. And I don't know, I just would like them to have a little more wherewithal of what was going on with them and with their environment.
So do you feel like what they call the squeeze, was it the timing of that because you had kids a little bit later? How old were your parents when they had you guys?
That's another factor I was thinking about. They had us a little later for that generation. I think my mom was 30 when she had me. That was kind of older. And then she still had my brother a year later. And then you see how that aging process is affecting you also as an older mom.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But I think all of it could be different depending on the communication, the awareness that someone has. Like that is really, to me, that at the core difficulty of the thing is how are you able to communicate with them and have them see your point of view of what's going on? And then there's the sibling. That's a
you
huge
have
piece.
3 siblings.
Yeah, if it
And
was just
so-
one person making that decision, it'd be really simple.
Well, because it becomes
much
cut
more.
and dry.
Yeah, a little bit more simple.
But everybody has their say, and everybody has their own, I don't want to say personal motives in a bad way, but their own lives that they've got to also consider. So
Yeah.
has that fractured or put a strain on your personal relationships, the family unit from the siblings?
Yeah, I would say yeah, because my parents come from that generation when they just don't talk about things. You couldn't even get them to talk about, like, what's your wishes? What is your will? And who do you want doing the trust? Yeah, all of that stuff was so hard to get them to even talk about.
Right.
And then I don't have siblings that were forthcoming talking about that stuff. I feel like I was the only one who would ask those questions. And I mean, I remember getting a little bit angry at my sister saying, why is it so difficult to ask them what they want? Why is everyone so afraid to talk about death and dying and what are your plans? It's just a part of life.
It's also a part of like making sure your wishes are taken care of, because they're not my things. It's not my money. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want a funeral? Do you want a celebration of life? Do you not? I just recently started having that conversation with my mom.
Good.
I flew with her to Ohio when my uncle, who just turned 91, went into hospice, because I realized she is not very forthcoming either, right? We've been begging her to do some sort of trust, living will, write it down in your own handwriting, whatever, some sort of will, something. And she was super resistant until this year. She finally did it. I don't know what changed it, maybe because she's 85. And I don't know if that was like, is there some sort of weird thing that you think you're going to die once you do it? Or is it just their generation?
No, I'm still going through that with my spouse. Like, we need a trust. We don't have a trust. We're just lucky so far. We haven't run into big problems. And it's for me, it's looming. I just feel like, come on, you're about to have a major surgery, and that makes me nervous.
And it should, actually. There was a period of time when our family trust was in place. We did it when we had our first kid. Not that we had anything, but yeah, you have to have some sort of protection, right? And we both have our own businesses. So, you just have to have that. And when our marriage dissolved, that trust automatically dissolves.
Oh,
yeah. And so there was a good year and a half while I was changing my name legally. I've always used my name professionally, but I wanted it back on my driver's license and so forth, that I didn't want to spend the money on a new trust until all my paperwork was sort of in order. And it was looming, because I thought, man, if something happens to me, this is not going to go to the kids.
Yeah.
This is going to go through probate. And I strongly suggest everybody have not even just a living will, because the living will is part of the trust. You got to get a trust. But so do your parents have a trust now? Is it set up?
Well, they do. My mom, long ago, I think I was just out of college, and she actually was the one who said that she had learned from Susie Orman about a living trust. And she was like, so important, make sure you do that when you're older. So I knew she had done it because of that, but she never discussed it again. And then now,
so you don't even know what's in the trust.
Yeah. And so now, as it's coming, impending, there's been a lack of transparency. And that was another thing that made some friction between siblings.
Oh, of course.
Where my sister wasn't really forthcoming about it. And we kept asking, and it turned into finally like my brother blowing up about it. And then I always feel like I'm the referee when they blow up at each other, and trying to just express, it is important that we know.
Well, it's just communication.
Yeah,
baseline.
It's so hard.
And it doesn't mean it's going to change because it's written down. But like, I have a lot of siblings also, and myself and my older brother, my mom's decided, are the executors. And I said, look, there's no fighting in our family. And if there is, tough. You just need to have everything written down. I don't care where it goes.
That's how I feel.
Just let me be able to close it, within reason. I'm not sending things to the Philippines and things like that. It's so much better if everyone knows, because then they know what to expect. And then it's not like, oh, you're keeping that from me. Mom and dad would have wanted me to have it. Well, if it's all written down.
Right.
And or a nice family talk while it is.
Yeah. And I did say to my mom, I think you should have 2 people on there, not just one. And I didn't think it should be me, because I'm probably the busiest of any of my siblings.
Oh, it's going to be you. That's how it happened to me too.
No, it's my sister. I know it's my sister. But I feel that my brother, who's retired, and I mean, he manages his properties now, but he's retired from his job. To me, he's a numbers guy with that stuff. He makes the most sense to me, be on there. It's fine if she is, but he should be on there.
Right.
And I told my parents that, or at least my mom, and she thought it was a good idea, but then they don't do it. Talk is cheap. Like you got to do it.
You gotta bring a trust revision guy to the house.
Yeah, never saw that.
Well, and also before, if there's a mental decline, then you get into siblings, documents, court orders of, oh, they changed this, and were they mentally sane? I've seen that happen with some of my clients, and it's terrible. Those siblings are never going to speak again.
I know. That's the worst thing I see with clients is
Right.
And they're suing each other over money. And I don't think I'd ever go there. It's not really worth it to me. And to see the emotional effects on these people from no longer having that sibling in their life. And it's just not a healthy thing to do. But one thing I really realize is you can't forget that your point of view is different than your siblings. And we look at things completely different, and you're scratching your head like, why don't you see what I see? And maybe she's thinking the same thing. Why aren't you guys seeing what I see? And then I think the worst part too is what you're talking about, the inability for them to make decisions and to think clearly. That needs to be discussed. I sort of jokingly, but not really, said to my kids, if I get to a point where I'm making bad decisions about my life, I'm going to sign a notarized document now that says you can decisions for me because I'm not doing a good job at it.
Yeah, but you don't know if you're going to know whether you're not making good decisions.
That's my point, though, is I don't know when I'm not making good decisions. So you need to step in just like a parent. And that's what's frustrating.
It flips. It definitely flips.
Yeah. And then you see like how your siblings dealing with your parents who turn into toddlers is very similar to how she was parenting her child. And not, I don't mean that in a mean way, but you can see, oh, yeah, here it is again, that you're not taking control and saying, no, you can't make that decision anymore. Obviously, you're not safe or, you're not engaged, you're not stimulated. There's so many aspects that you have to take into consideration. It's not just like someone to take care of you, like get you in the shower, get you in and out of bed. And maybe, everyone thinks about the finances part of it and the will, but there's so much more that they need decisions, help being pushed to make.
Well, and it is just like a toddler. Are they being nurtured? Are they, do they have proper boundaries within whatever they're still able to do? Nutrition, yes, medical care.
All of it, yeah.
But it's very much like you're going back into a parenting phase.
It's absolutely parenting again.
There's 4 parents arguing because no one would be the same parents, right?
Yeah.
There's not a union or being eye to eye with, we're going to do it this
collaboration.
Way. There's no collaboration.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
And do you find that some of the siblings think similar, or that you guys all different in what needs to be done?
That's the hard part is mostly 3 of us agree, and the one who's in charge of taking care of them seems to see things a little bit differently.
Right. And it is a little bit different when you're the day-to-day there.
Yeah, and that's why I respect that. Like, she is there the most, and we appreciate her doing as much as she's doing. But we also have been trying to tell her, you shouldn't be doing all that, especially as it's gotten worse and them demanding so much more care. Both of them. Now they're 92 and 93.
Right.
And physically need a lot of help.
Is there going to come a point where 3 outvote the one because it's not going to become safe for either your parents or her? She's not a very big person.
That kind of has happened a little bit already, where we're like, don't you see?
Well, but it's the same thing as you said, like she can't see what she doesn't see. So is there something where you guys are just going to have to step in and say, we're bringing people in, or
that's exactly
we're going to go to a care home and we're going to sell the house so we can pay for it while they're still alive? Something.
Yeah. Well, that discussion's been over and over, saying we can sell their house and put them in a really nice care place. Yeah.
Or they've got medical care around the clock.
Was the other option. Like, or if they insist on staying in the house, that's fine. But you need to spend their money on care for them. And I don't know what the hesitation is there. We don't get it. Like, just, it's their money, spend it. Right. And of course you wonder, like, are you hanging on to that for yourself?
Right.
For your inheritance?
Yeah, and that just gets so murky.
It is, and it's hard to bring it up. It
causes a lot of resentment, and it causes a lot of distrust.
Distrust is the problem.
Because you're like, if you're doing that for your own personal reasons, like, it's their money, they're still here.
Yeah.
That's got to be so rough, Donna. I can't even imagine.
It's frustrating.
But at some point at, 93 and 95, and you could bring them closer down here too. It doesn't have to be in the LA area to where they're in the same home. They have their own rooms. They can still see each other every day. But these care facilities at the homes are actually set up for the 24-hour. I've seen some really good care from people who have then had to put their spouses because they couldn't physically do it. They're maxists,
Well, that's one of the frustrations is that I can transfer my mom, but my sister can't, and she's the one who's there.
We're also in the medical field.
Right.
So we have all the training. You're also very strong still.
Mm-hmm.
Having that medical background knowledge, also being able to sort of innately notice cognitive decline. It's because we come from the field. And so we're always aware of, all the four bodies looming around.
Well, and one of the most obvious things to me that just doesn't seem obvious, apparently, to my sister, is that if they can't hear, you are shutting their world down. You can't communicate. You no longer have conversations. Like, everyone says, when your parents get old, spend time asking them questions. And that's what I was doing. And I even, would record cute stories that they are saying. But once they start losing their hearing, you can't even do that. It's so frustrating to have a conversation with someone who won't put in a hearing aid. So I can't wrap my brain around why would that not be taken care of.
Can also be coming from very stubborn parents.
Well, it is.
Don't need hearing aids.
Or he needs one. I don't need one. No, you both need it. But I even got them just over the counter Amazon $300 things to try just so they could see, look, you can hear.
Different.
And my dad be like, oh yeah, I can hear better. But then does he use them? No. And they suddenly disappear. So
frustrating.
Yeah.
Let's go to what your practical challenges are. And I know that you go up there as much as you can, at least once a week.
Yeah.
And you don't live that close and you're still really busy. I mean, the kids are starting to go, but as you know, you're always needed for other things. And you probably thought that I was going to kind of start opening up because the youngest went off to college. What does a typical day or week look like for you?
Well, I'm still working. I don't treat full time, but as you know, with a business, there's always work to do. And it's frustrating because I feel like everything's piled up all the time. And I know my husband's looking at it thinking, why do you have so much stuff, like junk? And well, you try getting through it when you're doing my life. Like, would you like to follow me around for a day?
Yeah, for sure.
I am not one of those people who's just all career. I like the whole being the mom and doing mom stuff. And that's hard because you're trying to do some of that care for your family, even if it's just, oh God, I got to put the dishes away before I go to work. And it's like, it's one more thing, that you never just feel like I can just ease into my day. And there's always so much to do. And so if I said what my day looks like, you might think it doesn't look like that much. I go to work, but it's like I come back and I'm immediately, what's for dinner? And I thought that would end when my kids go away. It's still there.
A lot of people out there can actually really relate to what you're saying. Because you think like you're going to get a little, at least bits of time. Like the morning is going to be quieter.
Yeah.
But it's not, right? It fills in with something else.
Yeah.
The kids still need us, whether it's our money or the what's for dinner, because whatever our family dynamic is, that's. And I know every woman out there is like, I am so sick of having to plan dinner every day for the rest of my life. Now that my kids are gone, I'm like, oh, I don't have to cook because it's me and the dog. So the dog's got to get fed and walked. And then other than that, I'll eat soup or
whenever you want.
So my mornings, like I've actually got to become more productive because my mornings are like, I'm going to sit outside and do nothing and it's nice, but I don't have the husband at home and kids coming in and out still. And so it's very different, which is part of the reason I wanted to have you on the show. It's like, it's the squeeze.
That's a great way of putting it. The squeeze.
Just squeezed from both sides.
Well,
right?
And the funny thing about the word squeeze to me too, is you have to be careful as we age, because I see this in clients that you aren't squeezing your world down, making it smaller and smaller. So the squeeze to me is from this way and that way, because I'm trying to not compact my life so much into being everything for everybody else and still having your own thing. So it really is a squeeze, but it feels more like a squeeze, like something squishing out this way and that way and choking it off here.
Yeah, and you don't want it to pop.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Then it's all gone.
Yeah, so then you're always trying to balance. And
how do you balance your own needs with the needs that you still have as a mother and a wife, and then these extra needs of whether it's even just communicating with your siblings to manage your parents, or actually you physically going up there to do some of the management? How do you balance that?
You have to remember the word balance implies that you're never equal. So it's like a constant, like something has to give. And there's no worse saying than when people say you have to make time. You don't make time. You don't pull it out of your ass.
Right. That's so true.
You shift things.
Yeah, you shift.
And that's the balance. It's like, okay, so I don't get to go paddle every morning that I can now. It's got to be balanced out with something else that I couldn't do here. The time that I spent driving up to my parents there and back, and then cooking dinner either there at home and serving them and cleaning up for them, and all that time you take, where are you getting it from? You're taking it from something else that would be my time or things I want to do for my husband or my children. And it's just a shifting. There's no true balance. It's just a shifting, in my opinion, of what am I going to do here today. And part of that has really altered my life in terms of when do I get time. So you end up picking either early in the morning or late at night. And when you have a teenager who I only just took off to college, it didn't make sense for me to try to be up early and then stay up late on just the weekends. I like doing things early in the morning. I love that time of day, as does my husband. And so he still does that, but I had to shift so that I stay up later to get something done or to be creative and work on class that I teach, or things that are goals for me to do always gets pushed to those later hours. Or maybe it's just when I'm waiting for my son, I can get something done, or I can take a minute just to relax and do nothing. So I just don't feel like.
But it wasn't necessarily your choice to shift your schedule later. It was the needs of the family.
Yeah.
So I'll do it this way.
Yeah. And I mean, it's everybody's different. I personally could not go to sleep until my, it's like I need my kittens at home and their mittens all pinned up like that nursery rhyme. I couldn't ever go to sleep until I knew they were okay at home. So it just made sense to, okay, then I'm just going to transition to that's my schedule now. And then as I get older, it was harder and I had to shift my work schedule. Like, okay, I'm not starting at 9 anymore. I'm starting at 10. And it makes a big difference because I know how important sleep is. And I wanted to get my sleep, and that's the balance I had to do.
Okay. But it's the only way we're going to function and heal. Like you actually don't heal if you don't sleep.
That's what I think.
So that's the part you actually, for me, I can't cut out.
No.
I cut out other things, or I decide, okay, I'm not going to roll out so early, or I'm not going to start seeing clients very early because
need some me time.
It's not even me time. Like I don't function. I'm one of those, I need 7.5, 8 hours of sleep, depending on, and our work is kind of physical. So like I need my body to reset. So at least I've grown into the wisdom of that. When the kids are little, maybe I wouldn't have shifted my schedule. So I'm still seeing patients at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'm still staying up till 1 o'clock waiting for everybody to get home. And you become a mean, grouchy person.
I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Because you just don't function. So I'm glad that you're realizing the importance of, if I'm going to do that shift, I've also got to shift this.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be aware because there's only so much you can get on your plate. And I would say the biggest thing that I've lost in the shuffle, the squeeze, was all the fun outdoor activities that I like to do, or just exercising that I have such a small window that I do in the morning before I start my day. But I'd much rather be outside for a paddle or a hike than doing exercises on my bed or on my floor.
Totally. Yeah. You've had to sort of compromise. You're getting it done, but differently than the optimal.
We also have to understand that if you try to cram exercise on top of all that stress, it's not actually beneficial. You're just making more cortisol.
I was just going to say your cortisol is just shooting straight out.
I'm a big believer in that everything comes down the nervous system. So if you're just further stressing your nervous system, then it's really not benefiting you. If anything, you're just making more work for yourself to deal with, because it might be on a physical level or emotional level or a relationship level that you can't stay nice. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I've had to choose, like, I would say my main source of exercise for quite a while now has been walking.
Yeah.
Like my exercise
walking the dogs.
Is walking the dogs. I might stress a little bit. I might take them down to the beach trail and do a harder walk or a little bit more hilly walk. But my nervous system was so blown out for so long that and my hormones were off. I mean, like, everything.
All of it.
So I had to just really talk to my body. No, we're walking. This is where I'm at. And I would say over this year, because I'm balancing out, I feel like, okay, my sleep deprivation is gone. My stress level, I've balanced or managed that. I'm thinking about adding in, and we're getting older, but I'm thinking about adding in some heavy weight training I don't know if my knee's going to be able to handle it, but I'm realizing bone density wise, and I'm actually craving that. I used to be a gym rat in my 20s, and now I'm like, I'd rather go for a hike, right?
Right.
Or,
Get
and so,
outside.
yeah, it shifts, but it's really, really important about understanding the nervous system. Everybody says, oh, go out and exercise, you'll feel so much better. Not if you're in such a level of depletion. You're probably better off staying at home and taking a nap. Right. And you're not going to lose any weight because your cortisol is too high. And you're not. So all these things that we think we're doing it for, you got to really ask your body, right? Is this going to be beneficial for me?
Well, and the one thing that I swear by and recommend, and people poo poo all the time, is I don't think I would be as calm, compassionate, and rational without meditation. I do it twice a day without fail, even if it's 5 minutes. Because if you're not going inside, you're not having an awareness of what's going on around you, what's going on inside me. Why is my health having an issue? I always think that anything that comes up, whether it be in your health or in a relationship, it's a message that you're out of balance. Something is not, you're not giving attention to something over here. You need to shift this for now.
And being able to go inward to ask your higher self, your core, and get a response from it. Yes, it takes sitting in silence.
Yeah.
For sure. What have been your family challenges?
You mean with my kids and husband?
Your kids, your husband, the dog. Like, how did having yet another thing that you've got to leave the home to do, did that cause tension? Were people pretty compassionate about that?
I think my family's been really understanding, but you can't get away from the mom guilt of like, I don't know why it's making me emotional. I want to be that mom to them all the time. And you want to be that person for your spouse that feels like they're seen. Sorry.
Oh.
And I would think then you're trying to give that to your parents. And it just spreads you so thin that you don't have a lot left for yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
But I think one thing that saves me, and this is where I think the meditation comes in, is it always gives me that ability to see like, this is hard or this sucks, but there's always something good coming out of it. There's just no replacement though for trying to always see that other side. Like, what is the grace that I'm giving somebody else that they need that? But then also seeing what you need too. It's such a hard.
You have to do both because you can't completely shut your own soul down. And yes, it's very rewarding and sometimes joyful to be those things for those people because we want that so bad. But also your soul needs to have a little bit of something. And I know there's no such thing as balance in the middle, but you can't swing completely one way or swing the other. And so you take those moments. For you, it's meditation of finding the light and finding the joy and being able to spend these moments with your parents because we don't know their cognitive decline. They get a lot out of you being there. I know that. And you get a lot out of that, even though it's okay to say it's hard and it sucks and there's not enough time. We have to start being okay with both things being true, even though they seem opposite ends of the spectrum. Two things can be true at the same time. And that's the part of this truth, living in truth. This whole season is about truth. I don't want people to come on here and be like, oh, no, it's fine. Because they want to be perceived as, oh gosh, you have to take care of your parents. No, it sucks. Because like you said, there's only so much time in the day. Yeah. Something gets chopped. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to do it. It just means it's hard.
Yeah, it isn't that you don't want to do. Although, if I'm honest, there's some times where I would just get angry. Like, I don't want to go up there and spend all that time when I can't even have a conversation with them because they won't put in their damn hearing aids.
Mm-hmm. So, not even while you're there?
No, and my sister-in-law ended up getting one of those things. It's like a stethoscope they put in and then it amplifies. So sometimes they'll use that, but it's sad because I don't get those conversations as often as I was getting. That was really making it worthwhile because everybody's parents are different, but my parents came from a generation where they didn't share their lives. They didn't talk about things. So as they got older, I made it a point of asking questions about their upbringing or their childhood I didn't even know, this is so horrible. I didn't even know my parents didn't have a wedding until I was about 26. I don't know, somewhere around there. I was like, Mom, how come you don't have any wedding pictures? And I thought it was because my parents never really got along that great. They're that couple that just stays together because that's what you do. And so I just thought she didn't have any wedding photos out because she didn't really want to honor that. And then she said, no, we weren't allowed to get married in Maryland. It was considered black and white marriage, even though my dad's Filipino, my mom's Caucasian. But, things like that, she should know that.
I just found out that my grandmother was one of 8. Isn't that basic? My mom came out a couple of weeks ago, and I was her +1 for an 80th birthday party for her cousin. I remember all my Tita Perla and Tita Darling, but I don't really know if they're really because you're related to everybody when you're
right. They do.
So if they were like really related, or if they were adopted related sort of thing. And so I started asking my mom these questions that that generation doesn't say. And I said, okay, so who is that's my first cousin. It's the wife of my first cousin. Okay. And then she started talking more like Tita Perla was grandma's. And I was like, just like her mom. And I said, oh, so we're like really related. And you have actually a ton of first cousins. So their kid, I don't know how it really goes, but their kids are like considered second cousins.
Yeah, still second cousins. Yeah.
So these are people that we should actually be like embracing a little bit more because of the generation.
Yeah.
Because as the older ones, because basically, I don't want to say my mom's the last one standing, but one of them, the kids don't know we know of each other.
Yeah.
And we're Facebook friends, but we don't really know. And so I'm trying to do a much better job of keeping some of those connections going.
Yeah. I don't even have that with my father's side, which is really sad.
Yeah. I had no idea. All I knew was my grandmother was a beauty queen, but she was a disciplinarian. And I get those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even know her mom. I guess my grandmother was, I don't know if she's the oldest girl or the second oldest there, but she basically, her mother died very young and she ended up raising all her siblings. So she became kind of a hard ass.
Yeah.
But I just, because I only met my grandma. She was in the Philippines. I met her like twice. It's kind of a hard ass. Sure.
Yeah.
They only give you bits and pieces. That's the thing. And I had to start going like, okay, so give me the family tree. Like I need her to really write out the family tree.
You need to know these things.
And like maybe some contact numbers.
Yeah. I one time heard that, have you heard the saying, a family that eats together, or whatever that saying was? I love people who take those sayings and let's actually test that theory. And this person did a study and it showed that the actual amount of conversation at the dinner table only added up to an average of, it was like 8 or 11 minutes. I forget which was. And most of that conversation was past this, past that. And maybe what'd you do today? But it wasn't what raised healthy children. What they found was telling your children who you are, like tell them your stories. So I have never forgot that. And I always jump on the chance to tell my kids some story that I think will help them remember something about me or know me. And sometimes you end up repeating the story and they'll be like, yeah, Mom, you told me the story. And I'm like, oh, sorry. But
at least they remember the story.
I told them the story. And I just have so few stories of that with my parents. And
yeah, I have none.
Yeah. It's so, if I were to give someone advice, which isn't directly related to your parents, but you can ask your parents as much as you can get out of them.
Oh, yes.
But don't make your kids pull it out of you when you're 80 and 90. Just start telling them these stories and sharing who you are. And my husband didn't like it when I would tell them something bad he did or whatever. And he'd be like, why are you talking about that? And I say, why are you not talking about that?
That's where the lessons are.
That's what I said. You need to tell them, be honest with the mistakes you made so you can tell them that was really stupid that I did that. And maybe you don't want to do what I did. And so again, it just keeps coming back to like communication,
super powerful
right?
For families, especially the generations up and down, that we are vulnerable with the fact that of course no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And to use them as teaching moments so that not, oh, don't do this, but
you understand.
They realize like, oh no, I failed big, or oh, that was a really bad decision. This is what happened to me. Think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, I know with our kids and the relationship we have with our kids, those are forging much stronger bonds.
Much stronger.
Because I'm not perfect. And I'll say, you know what, I'm actually really struggling with this right now. Appropriate for their age and your relationship.
Right. Absolutely.
There's certain things I'm going to talk to you about.
You're not going to tell
I'm not going to talk to them about. Right.
Absolutely.
But it's important that they know that we're capable of being real and that we accept our own failures and our own mistakes or errors, because then it grants them permission to do so as well.
Right. And that's why parenting your parents or realizing you're coming into that is an opportunity for you to feel that question for your kids. What do you want? What do you think you're going to do? But it's the lack of communication about it just blows my mind. I said to my husband's parents, because I'm so concerned about my own parents' lack of foresight or awareness and making safe choices, smart choices. So I said to them one time after dinner, what do you guys want to do when you get older? And they looked at me like I had asked them to take their clothes off in front of me. Like it was so inappropriate. And I was like, you guys have to talk about this. If you don't tell us now, then if you
when you can't tell us,
when you can't tell us your needs, then we don't know. And
right.
even my husband looked uncomfortable, and I just was like,
well, their family doesn't really.
What did I say that was so offensive? I'm trying to be helpful
Proactive.
Proactive, David. Which ironically, my husband's always saying be proactive, but then they all said we just hadn't thought about it. I'm like, well, that's a fair answer, but let's
also,
talk about it.
Let's now start talking about
it. It's a fair answer, but
because they're getting older too. And
yeah, and one good thing you were asking, like, how's it affecting the family? I have seen that since I go up pretty much every weekend, unless I'm gone or something, to my parents. My husband has been going to see his parents pretty much every week. I just noticed he just recently started doing that and incorporating like paddle over this year. So you get your time, what you want, but you are also realizing you need to keep honoring that bond or that parent.
Well, and again, as it starts flipping, we're the ones checking on them, and we're the ones with the more awareness of their ability for functioning. And I guess we just have to accept that that's the way it is. It's just, that's truth. It's shifting.
Yeah.
Because at one point the decline will be really big, and then they'll really go to toddlers. But being able to give them the respect, still honoring them, even if it's just like, oh, hey, I just paddle past.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they start to appreciate that much more. I know that I make a very conscious decision when my mom comes out to board her out that time. Last time she came out was for 4 days, and we just did whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, because I clear my schedule for that.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to completely focus on her. She'd be like, we can go eat wherever you want, or we could. And so it wasn't about that. It was just like, this time is for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. And I feel better about it because I don't live close to my mom. My sister actually is the one that
is closer.
My mom's got to text her every morning with she starts making up some emoji. So she's gotten really creative.
Your mom.
Yeah. When she wakes up, she has to send my sister. She started doing like emojis.
I like that.
And I think that's so funny because she probably finds some really interesting ones just because it tells my sister she's awake and she's up.
That's great.
And they live a couple miles away, but so they've developed this thing, and my sister does Sunday dinners with my mom, but I don't get that. And my kids don't get to see her with that fluidity.
Well, you bring up a point that is a difficult one. In my family, my parents do not have email. They do not use a computer. They don't use a cell phone. Their landline half the time isn't working.
Oh, geez.
And then they can't hear. My mom doesn't see well because she's got macular degeneration. That's what I mean by your world gets closed down. At least your mom is sending you an emoji. That would be like wonderful. My parents would just send an emoji, and I was like, just use email so we can share pictures because you don't see the kids constantly. This way you can see them growing up.
But Donna, if they don't, I don't want to say they don't want to,
well,
but really
they don't like
to
change.
Put the effort in, then
it's unfortunate. It's on them.
But that's on them.
And
that's what I mean.
That's one of the things.
You got to be okay. You got to accept that. That's not your guilt.
Yeah.
That's not on you.
That is huge because I'm really good at guilting myself of like, oh, if I had just done this with my parents, or I insisted on this, or if I had more time that I spent trying to get my mom to do yoga or something, like it's still their path. They didn't reach out.
They're also very stubborn, and I'm not sure even if you got your mom into yoga, the moment that you weren't there, she would have stopped doing it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's still their path, and that in the end, as so many things are that we deal with people we care about, you have to always end up saying it's their path.
It's their path.
Like it's their journey. I can only support it and try to help, but I can't do it at the cost of my family, my well-being.
And so there has to be a little bit of a boundary. And also know that with everything, it is our path, but there's also natural consequences to your choices. And those also have nothing to do with what we coulda, shoulda, woulda, maybe done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's really hard. And even with any relationship, yours to your parents, ours to our children, it's always shoulda, coulda, woulda, maybe. I don't know. but we
Yeah.
just have to live in the now.
Yeah, that's the big lesson there.
And we also have to allow the natural consequences, not always as a lesson, but that there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah.
That part about it's a surrender.
And the thing you do is, what did you learn?
Always.
Don't do that to your kids. Don't
Right.
be
Let's
that
try
person.
to set up different ones, because that was super frustrating to
Yeah,
be able to
super
go through
frustrating.
that. How has this season, and it's been a little while that your parents have been declining.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how has this changed your identity? Has this reframed your identity as a woman, as a mother, as a daughter?
Well, it's a hard question of how does it change your identity, because I feel like I'm still me, and I know that part of who I am is a caretaker, nurturing person. So it's sort of natural part of my life. But there is that, what about me is what, that's the thing that comes up.
Do you feel like you're losing yourself a little bit, or you just lost time for yourself?
No, I just, it's just what about the stuff I want to do, and how it's like this frustration because, like yourself, I'm a creative person and I have ideas out the yin yang, and there's so many things I'm interested in. And some people have no hobbies, no passions. I'm the opposite, where I have too many.
Yes.
Even remember, even sports, we used to say too many sports, too little time, everything. So it's just hard trying to, it sounds funny, but I almost feel like there's this realization that maybe there's a reason why we can't do everything in a lifetime, that maybe we get to do it in the next one. I don't know. And sometimes that gives me a little bit of resolve. Like, okay, if I don't get it done in this lifetime, is what it is. Maybe you just don't get to get everything done you want to do in life. I mean, because you could, if I wanted to stay up nonstop and keep flowing all my ideas.
Sometimes that's creative surge for sure. But in some senses, it's like you have a certain standard. I would say that both of us are borderline perfectionists. So we have to be like, it's good, right? And so there are many things that we can do. Sports, creative projects, work. We could work forever. But how well do you want to do them? What do you want it to feel like for you? Like, I want to feel I did some things really well.
Yeah.
But there'll be also an interest where I'm like, I'm kind of done with that. I want to move on to something else for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's part of my problem. A lot of things I don't want to give up on, that maybe you just have to give up on them. You don't have the time, or
it's either the time, or you get to the point where physicality is a factor. Like, I can't rock climb anymore. I know you keep asking me, but I'm like, dude, my hands hurt all the time from treating. And with rock climbing, you consistently have to be building that strength up,
or at least maintaining it
so that you can actually have fun without blowing yourself out. And so for me, I am happy enough watching my daughter. She wore my first pair. She had the orange rock climbing shoes until they finally busted. People would be like,
where'd you get those things?
Like real vintage. And so, and I think she was even going to try to get them resold because you can't find leather anymore. Right. But I'm happy enough to see that, like, wow, I instilled outdoor,
a love of that outdoors,
a love of outdoors, but just that level of wanting to be outdoors and use your physical strength to both of them somehow. So I can let that go. I don't choose to create the amount of time or have the amount of time that I think the level of rock climbing that I would want to be, I can do.
Well, if you really love something though, that you like the feel of it, how it makes you feel. I don't need to be, 5'11" climbs and above. I'm happy something simple that gives me that pleasure, that satisfaction. But unfortunately, I feel that way about so many sports and hobbies. And if you think about it, you could live to 90 like your parents, and maybe if you stay healthy, you'll have time to do all that stuff. You can't, obviously I can't treat forever.
No. No. Well, and it just shifts. Like you said, Donna teaches too. And so it shifts in the way that we're healing and taking care of. And I don't see anything wrong with letting go of not treating as much, or at some point, so you don't have your physical hands on people, but you're using your voice to shift that. Because the energy of who you are, being a nurturer, teacher, educator, I don't think ever goes. It just, we can be okay with it shifting into something different. And then I think it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Instead of overwhelming that, like, well, how am I going to do? It's like, okay, I'm going to let that natural, like me letting the clinics go, that business part of me. I still have it. They're like, how do you do all this stuff? And I was like, oh, that was a different world, but I'm okay letting it go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that stuff I think would be easier to let go than the fun stuff.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
But it's still just the managing of all of it. And all of it can be fun to an extent. You treat a certain amount of patients, it's still super fun, right?
Yeah.
And then you get overload because you treat
Too many people.
too many,
Yeah.
and then it's so not fun because you're just like, oh, and again, like it's that pull, like everybody wants my time, right?
Right.
It's that balance, but I think it's okay to, like, you see the big cycle, so you like spin the wheel of fortune and whatever it lands on.
Yeah.
I'm okay with more of like this flow of, and it may flow back to me, that drift, but this flow of, okay, that's okay. I'm going to get into this. And I'm trying to really just sit in the now with where my expression or my creativity feels like it should be right now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the birth of the podcast. All right. So do you think that this season, and we don't know when it's going to end or how it will shape out, but how has it shaped your own dreams?
Well, it's sort of put a damper on them, really, because I was enjoying teaching some classes. There were my own classes with my colleagues, so that's really different than having a teaching job somewhere. And so it's put a real damper on me trying to get engaged to that and be in it and have the focus and the time and the desire, because everything starts to feel like one more thing on your
and then
plate.
nothing's fun and nothing is.
Yeah, it takes away a lot of the fun.
Takes the joy out of it.
Yeah, because it was really something I really enjoyed, and it's not gone. It's just on hold, I think.
Or it will come up a different way and you'll morph that into something else or with someone else.
Yeah.
And so just holding on to that, that's part of you, and like the who are you now, that's always going to be who you are. And so even though it's a little dormant,
yeah,
it's just waiting for the right opportunity again.
Yeah, and like anyone, I also don't like change. I'm willing to change it, but I don't like it. You know, you have to do changes you don't like all the time, but at least if you can
enjoy the flow,
that aspect,
it's
going to change a little bit and I can deal.
I don't know that I'm the opposite, but I like get bored pretty quickly, or I call in change. And I don't know why. I've always been comfortable with like, this is not working anymore, right?
Yeah. You are good at that.
Even though it's super uncomfortable, but it's also exciting.
Yeah, change is exciting. I would like to incorporate things like traveling in back again and things like that. There's just so many things that could be changing, maybe are changing. I don't know. We'll see. No.
And it's that everything's all at once, right? There's the dimensional shift, there's the what's going on today shift, and there's the what's going on in the world shift. And so we just need to be very flexible.
Yeah.
And so the plans aren't, oh, if it doesn't work out that way, it's sort of this is what it's going to look like. And then step into the feeling of it versus this is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Because the travel could look really different. Maybe we'll go to Iceland and see the aura, but you really wanted to be doing, hiking in Alaska.
Yeah.
So as long as it's like adventure, outdoor, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Then it's got to be okay.
That's the thing too, is you can't be too set in your vision of things. People get really like, this is what I want.
And if you don't get that, it's failure. Or
they get it and they're not happy with it. You see these people that are like the internet life. Okay, I'm going to get married at this age. I'm going to have kids.
None of that's real.
And they're putting all this on there and there's no reality to it. So you can't be too strict in your vision.
Because then it's a check-off list, not that you don't affiliate with a connection, which is what life is. It's all about connection and the feeling. It's this, I did that. And we all fall into it a little bit because of society and cultural. And now you've got the internet telling you, these are the things and you'll be so happy.
Yeah. People have so much FOMO.
You have happiness is a decision.
I
don't
agree.
think it's in a thing. It's
Definitely
finding the joy in the moments, because not every day is a great day, but not every day is a crap day either. You have to pick some moments. We're like, well, that sucked, but this part was really good. And that's what I'm going to hold on to. I've always been that kind of person.
Yeah, same. And it's funny when you asked me before about like emotions that you're dealing with my parents, and a lot of the stuff sounded negative, but then I was able to see, there's always this positive thing. There's this disappointment I had of, I got to go up there every weekend and I got to take care of them. But then the other side of that is, but you're getting to see them more than you were before. You weren't making that time as much because you were putting that time somewhere else. And not that that was bad, but there is that piece of it that you can do something special for them now that you are helping them and doing sort of returning. They raised you, had you, they took care of you. So you look at that side of it as, okay, now I get to help them.
Yes. And it's a get to instead of a have to. It's reframing your perspective on all of it, because you could go into the doomsday of this is never going to end and I'm in the black hole, or you can choose to look at it as I get to spend these last times with my parents. Maybe the one time that I go up there, one of the times I go up there, they will be coherent or they'll have the hearing aids in, and I'll get a really cool story. Or like when you were telling me, I think it was the last time that you went up, that your dad did really good outside with the walkers, and you got to witness that his health looked better on that day. And it might not hold, but like, it's all in the perspective. And I know it's really hard to, be the jolly, be the uplifting. Oh, everything's so great. And I'm not saying to do that.
No,
but you have to find the good in the hard, find a little bit of joy, and maybe what did you learn, which is your lesson.
Yeah, that's big for
me too, to make it all worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, because when we're going down, I don't know about karma, but like, I want my kids to come out and take care of me if I'm unable to, or at least put me in a good place where I'm taken care of.
Right. I was gonna say that should be defined, because I don't want my kids doing what we're doing for my parents.
No,
absolutely not. And I've told them that you should not have to fight with me over a simple decision.
Oh, I don't mean the fighting. I just mean the connection of taking care of.
Yeah.
I hope my kids come.
I just really want them to stay interacting with you is what you really realize.
It's connection.
Yeah. And that's what my parents want. I see that my parents, even if on the rare occasion my kids are home at the same time, they can come up there for some reason. I can see that my parents, even as little as they're interacting, are very happy. The energy of having them around them is important to them. And that's what I would want, is just, you don't have to take care of me, just connect with me.
Connection, for sure. And it's got to go both ways. Like I said, if they're disconnecting, you can't force it. But each generation is a little bit different. And I think we're very much aware of our relationship with our
goodness.
kids.
And one other thing that I had was a lot of anger about it.
Yeah.
I was so angry at them for not taking better care of themselves. I was angry at them for not making better decisions ahead of time and not having any sort of forethought of what you're going to be like at that age. But totally in their defense, I realized they didn't have their aging parents. Back then, they both lost a parent when one was 5 years old, one was 13 years old, and then didn't see their parents aging. They're in another country. They didn't get to see that, or they died so much younger that they didn't really see what we're seeing in my parents, that slow degradation. They didn't have to deal with that. So if you didn't have to deal with that, you might not think to tell your kids, hey, it's going to get ugly.
Right.
And that's why I'm so open.
They might not even have expected to live as long as they did.
Yeah. With my kids, that's why I'm making a point of saying, okay, I don't want to get to that point, or I don't want you to get to that point. Point where you think,
and maybe you wouldn't have ever thought to have the conversation with your kids unless you've been seeing.
That's what I mean. So that's the good that comes out of it, is the lessons of when I feel angry, like, okay, well, I just know I'm not going to do that. I see how it came out, and it's not really that good.
Was anger the hardest emotion that came up that you had to look at?
And that wasn't the hardest. I don't know if frustration counts as an emotion, but to me, it sure does. It's kind of a combination of like, there's some anger in there, and
resentment.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into frustration. And so that's been the biggest thing of dealing with, is realizing I'm frustrated with you for not having any self-awareness. But how can you be angry at someone for not being self-aware? That is who they are. You know what I mean? I feel blessed that I do have self-awareness.
It's like coming full circle with it. It's the accepting the truth of who they are.
Yeah.
And really stepping out of expecting someone to be something different.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's a little bit about granting grace, but it's a little bit about, this is who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Any relationship that has action. And of course, we'd like it to be something different, because then we'd have this better connection, or things wouldn't have fall apart, or XYZ, pick your thing. But I did a lot of work of just being in reality. And that's why this entire season is about truth.
Yeah. Like, and in the end, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And so it's like, if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to put the hearing aids in, they would. Right. And so it's like taking that, I'm not going to be frustrated because they're not doing what I think is best for them.
Exactly. It's not
even though
about
it might
me.
be better.
It's not about me.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
Yes, it's frustrating to see their world shrinking, but they're doing that.
Yeah. That's what I mean, where it always comes back to, okay, but it's their path. And if that's what they choose to do.
That helps me when I do the whole, this is not mine.
Yeah.
Not mine. Or if they wanted to, they would. I do a lot of that when I'm starting to fall into negative emotions about a relationship, a person, of them not like seeing things a certain way, or I don't understand, like, because there's a lot we don't understand. I'm not in their head.
Right.
And so to just give it right back to them and be like, okay, it's not mine.
Yeah. It's theirs.
Let's go over here. And then I stay more in my happy pace because my tone is naturally higher. I'm not like, so how is it to be you?
What you really learn with all that frustration, disappointment, anger, is that you have to have compassion.
Mhm.
It's the number one thing. As would
Compassion.
I want that if my mind is not all there. And that's another piece of the frustration, is that I see how differently my sister and I deal with my parents. Now, granted, she's around them all the time right now, and that would be really
The
hard.
tolerance level, sure.
But if you can't have that compassion, you're doing that role.
You have to step out. You have to call in help.
Yeah.
Where it's
So
probably
frustrating.
super frustrating for you guys, because
Yeah.
you're like, it's time to find a different way to caregive, because you're no longer able to have compassion, actually be nice about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's becoming such a have to for you for whatever reason that we need to change it up. And that's why I'm going to throw my opinion in there, because we're really good friends, is like, I think the three of you guys got to just, she won't know it now, but in her best interest, because she's starting to be very angry with them, and she's displaying that as she's taking care of them. And maybe it's being rough or not doing something, or, it's not as gentle, I guess is a good way.
Yeah. It's the sarcasm. That's very
and it's not good for
passive aggressive.
Yeah. And so
That's
you
not
just
loving.
have to remove it.
That's not compassionate.
But you and your brothers might need to be like, okay, wait, I know she's quote in charge, but we're going to step in and we're going to find a home that they can be at together. Right. Or, not assisted living, they're beyond that. But there are the ones that they have the big bedroom houses and they've got staff. It's board and care.
They're kind of beyond that. That's how bad they are. Like my mom is, I think, considered on hospice.
Okay.
And she's not now, just starting where she can't. Like I was over there, and this is the first time ever where she was like not up. She stayed in the bed. I was there all day and kept saying, "You want to get up?" "Yeah, sure, later." And then later would come, "I'm just too tired. I'm just really tired today." See the writing on the wall.
At least part-time care so that she has some time away.
You're preaching to the choir. I've been saying that over and over again. And that's one of the frustrations that I hope people don't all have to deal with, is not agreeing, not being on the same page as the main caretaker. I mean, what can you do? What are you going to send the aging adult police over and say, no, you're not?
Well, and it's family too.
Yeah. I mean, I was at one point angry enough that I said, if she doesn't do something about this, I'm going to call Adult Protective Services. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I came that close, because it's like, that's that whole thing of like, I don't understand what you're not seeing here. But then if I step back, and having heard something she said, it made me feel like she obviously has some sense of obligation to them for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. If that's the true motivation, I don't know. It's like you can't get in the person's head. Yeah.
It's not yours.
Yeah. When my parents, they've gotten to a point where they can only protest so much now. Like, you're dependent on her too. Mm-hmm. It's a weird situation to me that I hope I never in.
No, I would hope that I'd check out before that.
Yeah. And or that your kids would communicate. Because I did try what you were saying, like, needing to talk to them and have someone step in. I multiple times tried to call family meeting. I said, we can do it online, or we can meet at their house, but we need to have full transparency of what's going on, the documents, what do you want, what's realistic for you guys. And then we decided with them there, and not be afraid to talk to them about the fact that you are getting close to your final days. And why is that so horrible to talk about? And my sister wouldn't even let me mention stuff about when you die. Like, it was like I wasn't allowed to say that. And I said, what are you talking about? You have to be honest and open and talk about death. You can't act like it doesn't exist, and that suddenly they're just going to peacefully be gone and not have any questions.
But then, so you guys can all fight because nobody's talked about anything?
Yeah. I was like, why are we
what
not
are you going to do with the houses?
And the only thing she gave up was, well, the house is going to all four of us evenly. Okay, great.
What about
that's as much as we know.
Right.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's because she doesn't think that you guys are going to approve of how the assets are divided.
I don't know.
Think that she likes to have a little bit of control because she's not had a lot of control in her life.
Yeah, and then she's in a position where she hasn't worked for years, and so of course our suspicion is like what her motivation would be, and yet I think she's trying not to make it look that way, but maybe it's not conscious. Mm-hmm. So what do you do? It's only so much.
If it gets to the point, like, obviously you can't have your parents being mistreated or not cared for properly, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but that is the concern. Like, I don't feel like they're being 100%.
And that's so hard because every family dynamic's different.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand it until you're in it.
My brothers and sisters have been very open with. My mom's really healthy right now, right?
Yeah.
And she's still driving, super cognizant, lives alone, still traveling out of the country on her own.
Which is great.
But at some point it's gonna, it's just like what I'm saying. And we've all, at least the older three of us, have been very communicative about there's no fighting. Whatever's in there is just what it's going to be. I actually told her it should be my sister because she lives there. And so the house and all of those things. My sister said she didn't want anything to do with it. She goes, give it to Chrissie. She's better with numbers. I'm like, I'm the busiest one.
Right.
And so when she called to say, hey, honey, what's your legal name? What's this and that? I said, whatever you want, Mom. Again, it's that same thing. Like, here's the time, whatever you want. If it makes you feel good, that we'll figure it out. But you better have everything written down. Otherwise, we're just going to sell it and split it. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hope, because you never know until they go, that at least the older three of us will sort of hopefully team up and get it done. And
right. Hopefully. Right.
And then just split it between whoever's in the will, and that's it.
Yeah.
And just be done.
Yeah.
But like I said, my mom's healthy now. So if you all of a sudden get the decline and someone has to, it gets very messy.
Yeah. And I was going to say, it does happen kind of rapidly. I mean, you see stuff coming, but then it seemed like once they got to like maybe 86, they just started to decline a lot faster.
And that's why I say, like, if they do pretty good and then that mid 80s, or you fall or you end up in the hospital, you got an infection, it's like they just don't quite recover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even fully, but it's like they can't get any traction and it goes. Well, I feel for you, sister. I know that this part of the journey can feel really unfair. Yeah. It's a good word.
And not just to me, to them.
Well, to you, to them, to your husband, your friends, the other connections that you have. That's just the word that feels the most appropriate, is unfair.
Yeah. And I'm lucky I have a spouse who understands. I could have a lousy spouse who doesn't understand how much time it takes.
You have that friction.
Yeah. Also. And have him be angry at me or cheat on you because you're not around or whatever. So I do feel blessed that at least you have support, and my kids are good. Sometimes I ask them, can you guys record a video? And so I can show it to grandma, because it's kind of hard to talk to her on FaceTime. And I see that the little things like that they're willing to do is a blessing to me. I feel fortunate, because I could see where it could make some people kind of,
if there's friction there too, or, oh my gosh, you're up there, you're not taking care of us, whatever it is.
Then
it just tears our heart open even more. Because we're trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah. And sometimes when I was cooking for them a lot, I have to cook at home and bring it up there because their kitchen's worthless now. But it was hard. I'd be cooking like, okay, I'm going to cook one for you guys and one for them, or big batch and bring some to them. And it sounds like that's easy, but it's not.
No, it's not.
It's like when all of a sudden you're cooking for not just your family of 5 or 4, whoever's there, and then your parents, and then, my sister's going to be there, and then she might bring her son over. Now, all of a sudden, I've got this extra work and expense.
Huge expense.
That nobody seems to.
Now, all of a sudden, you're cooking for 12, 15 people.
Yeah.
And leftovers or whatever. It's an expense, which is a huge expense.
And buy quality food, it's expensive.
Yeah. For sure. Well, and then just the time.
The time. Oh my God. So much time. I would start at 3:00 and then be like, oh my God, I got to leave. It's 5 and it's going to get too late. And then am I going to be in traffic? And very stressful.
So stressful. So, Donna, what do you wish you would have known at the beginning of this journey?
Honestly, I wish I would have known how stubborn my parents were going to be and how unwilling they are to do something that is going to benefit them, like wearing a freaking hearing aid. What is so hard about that? I know they're not the greatest thing. I know plenty of people say they don't like them, but they almost always end up going back to them when they realize that they're not engaged in the conversation.
Or in life.
You
can't hear anything. It's like
you close your world down.
You go into a cocoon.
Yeah, and it's really sad. I remember seeing my dad when his hearing was going, that we'd be at these big fun family dinners, which are noisy when you got all those people at a long table, and he'd be sitting there at the end completely disengaged because you can tell he can't hear anything.
Yeah, you stand at the wall or
so that was the biggest thing, is like seeing how disengaged you can become if you don't pay attention, and it just starts shrinking your world down.
Oh, so frustrating.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who is entering the squeeze right now? They're just going in.
The first and foremost thing is keeping the communication open between you and your spouse, you and your parents, your siblings, like all of that, but having a plan. I'm lucky that at least we didn't have to fall into this financial drain of where's the money going to come from? And do we count as a couple as making the most money amongst the siblings? Or do we just go by family, and who's responsible? Does he need to pay anything? Thank God I haven't had to, my money fears, like to have to go and ask him for money for my parents. I'm so glad I haven't had to do that. You just have to have a plan and have to have an understanding well ahead of time. Watch for when your parents are starting to decline, because I saw it in little ways. They can never drive down without getting lost. And then I tried to remedy that, and you see the stubbornness of like, well, I gave you an iPad. I gave you my old iPad, Mom. You just put it on your lap and it tells you where to go. And this unwillingness to change or open your mind to maybe this would help you helpful, and just closing your world down. So I think it's having an awareness to what's going on with your parents, and do they have a plan, and being brave enough to talk about it.
That's a big thing,
because it is hard.
It's the being brave enough to talk about
Yeah.
it.
And I'm myself included. I remember when my mom would say things like, I'm hiding this diamond ring up in here in case something happens to me. And I would just like, okay, Mom, because you
And
don't
it's
want
still
to,
up there.
I don't know. You don't want to think of them as dying and going to die.
I don't think it's stubbornness that people don't talk about things. I think it's fear.
Yeah, fear, and it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable to think
The
about someone
unknown.
not being here anymore. And
Yeah.
like even for your sister, where she's been the main caregiver, even when she did work, she worked for your dad. The thought of him or your mom not being there destroys her entire world, because her world is very small.
Yeah.
And so there's something deeper than,
Of course,
it's taboo. So it's always a form of fear.
Yeah. And we still don't know what happens when we die. There's that ever ongoing fear people have of the unknown, which is why I like to meditate. It's like take you to that place of the unknown.
Well, also, like, we're not here to know.
Get comfortable. Yeah. Get comfortable with not knowing.
Or pick something good. Because in the end, if you were wrong, you don't know you were wrong. But pick something good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where they're always discussing, should people have faith? Like what faith is, or what spirituality is, this belief in something greater than yourself. And you'll never know. But I would rather choose to be there, because it feels good and it feels light and there's joy and hope in that, than just the nothingness of nothing.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm wrong, I'm better off here in this life believing that and carrying on as if that is true than not.
Yeah. So it's important to have a plan, but the plan doesn't even work if there's no communication.
Totally.
It's just one of those things you don't take the time for, and life gets busy and you're busy with your kids. And then all of a sudden it's sort of on you and you're like, well, I guess I'm going to fall into whatever role I just fall into. And I don't think that's the way to do it. You need to have a plan.
Some foresight.
Yeah, some foresight.
Yeah.
And
well, because there's other people that would be involved, whether it's your siblings, your spouse, your children. You don't have to plan it out like this is what's going to look like, but so that not everybody is taken aback, surprised, thrown in it. And because when people are thrown in and they get fearful and there's tension, sometimes it's not nice. And then we lose compassion.
Right. That's key. And I do think it's really important also, if I were to give anyone advice, is heal your wounds, because that is part of the problem that's going on with the family dynamic of my siblings. I see that it's so obvious to me that all of our dysfunction, we all have some with our parents, this is when it comes up. And that's why there's such poor communication and poor ability to meet on this and to come together to do this care that needs to happen, because everyone's dealing with their stuff they never dealt with, the healing that didn't happen. And I see a lot of what's going on with my sister is just all about like her having issues with my mom. And so her having a better relationship with my dad, having worked with him, but there's still not that healing there. Just because you were around them doesn't mean that any healing occurred. And I discussed with her how that I tried to do that with my parents as much as possible. And it's not easy to do that with parents like that. But whatever you can do, you do for yourself too. But also that's where the compassion is lacking, when you are an adult child and you're still saying, they didn't do this for me and they did this wrong. And like, really get over it. Have some compassion.
Point you have to put your big boy pants.
Yeah, you deal with that because they're not dealing with it.
And it's not theirs anymore.
Yeah, it's yours, and you get to deal with it so that you don't then pass it on to your child. And that's been so helpful and important to me. Do your healing and then heal anything with your children now before it's too late, and that you get in that awkwardness. It's such an awkwardness.
there's resentment and there's hurt and there's this disappointment, but there's also this longing.
Yes.
And so it becomes like just very dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you could be passive aggressive, but then also you flip into this aggressive, all because these unhealed, your
Wounds.
4-year-old is coming up.
That's so true.
And you actually start behaving like the age of that soul that was injured at that time.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily appropriate.
Yeah.
Because your parents they're not there anymore.
Yeah. And
right. And they don't even know what they did. And so if you're going to have those conversations with your parents and really try to heal the relationship, which by the way, a lot of times their generation it's not going to go well. You just got to go do your own stuff or do it much earlier.
I was just going to say it. Start it younger. Like even with my kids, I want to tell them like, tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what's going to land you in the shrink's office because I want to deal with it now. I did do that when I was in my 20s and 30s. I really wanted to heal that. And I think a lot of kids do, but they don't dive in and really do have to do the work.
And there's more tools now than there's ever been.
Yeah. And it takes time, but you just, even the littlest thing, like, you know, that I think I told you, I told my mom when I was 28, I think, Mom, you've never even said you love me. And she was like, well, of course I do. I go, well, I know you do.
She's English.
Yes. I said, but that is what she said. That was her excuse. I said, I know you do, but it would be nice to hear it.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice to be able to say it to you and be comfortable to say it. And she did say that. Well, that's just not how I grew up. People in Europe, you didn't say that. It was just understood. And I said, I get that, but it's important to hear. And that was when I feel like I started doing my healing and trying to point it out to them that maybe you want to heal along with me.
And then it's free choice.
Yeah. And I think I'm the only one in my family that actually says, I love you. And what is it so hard about I?
So English.
Maybe you'll get to love you too. What is so hard about I love you?
My gut on that is that people are afraid it won't be reciprocated. They become vulnerable enough to say it because there is a hope that someone would say, I love you too, Donna.
Yeah.
And what if that doesn't come?
Yeah, but that's the sad part is I don't even care if they don't say it back. I feel good saying it.
Right. You know? And that's the healing process of getting to it. This is more for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's intended that you love me too. It is nice to hear it both ways.
Yeah.
And it's important to ask for it if you need it. Because some people, again, that didn't grow up that way or right, they don't know that it's okay to say that to you.
And that I remember that was my intention, like trying to get it. Like, are you going to say it?
I told you it's okay. I told you I needed it.
It was like a training process where I said, okay, Mom, you don't have to say it because I could see how uncomfortable she was. You don't have to say it, but I'm going to say it when I want to say it because it feels good for me to say it. Yeah. And I started with little things like on the end of a phone conversation, just saying, okay, love you. And then she slowly, oh, you too. And then I think she got as far as love you too. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, that's good. I'm not 100% sure if she's said the whole I love you, but when I see her, I know how powerful it is and I see how it lands on her.
And I think the training thing is really important too, because like with my kids, it's funny because with Nate, like you have to go in and physically say goodnight, get a hug or a kiss.
Yeah.
With
gimme.
Have to. Or he's like, what do you mean you went to bed? He's almost 20. So still the summer is like, you have to go and physically like end the night, make the contact. And
that's nice. Yeah.
With my daughter, it's much more like if I'm going in, you know, I might through the door, go to bed, Liz, good night, Mom. So there's still that good night, but Nate needs the physicality.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So even if he's in there like playing video games or whatever, I go in, kiss his forehead in front of his friends. I'm still, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Be like, who are you with? Oh, okay. Hi, Anthony. And then off I go. So establishing those things really early on.
Just do it, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Even if it's uncomfortable.
Just do it. Yeah.
Even with my mom, it's funny because she was just down here and I don't have to like hug and kiss her up to say goodnight. I'll just be like, I'm going to bed. But we just spent the day. We went out to dinner and then we watched a movie together.
Yeah. One thing you will see though is, you know, my mom's, I guess, considered on hospice now. I'm not technically sure of the terms there, but as you see them get to that point and you realize I might not see them, it's super easy to say, okay, I love you when you leave because
there's a next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I try to do that with my kids, my husband.
Yeah.
You don't always remember, but you try to remember at some point, did I say that? You think about when people pass suddenly and then the other person surviving says, did I say I loved you before I
And do they
saw
really
them
know that I
leave?
did?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
When I'm on the phone with my kids or even texting, I love you is the last thing. Goes either way.
Mhm.
So it's also about making that not the standard, but the norm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so that fear or that love, that giving and receiving is very much in flow all the time. And it's not tit for tat,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Can't be, or never. Or
You're
otherwise I'd never
never.
say it again.
Yes, you would. You'd say it to me.
Because I'd hear it back, right?
You know you'd hear it back, right? Okay, so I think that you have given such pearls of wisdom. I'm going to recap for our listeners that meditating, one, right, of find your center,
Yeah.
find your quiet,
Yeah.
go within so you can hear yourself.
And yeah, that's a big one. Be comfortable with the silence, that discomfort of not knowing where do I go when I go there, out
Right.
into that space.
And it's okay not to know.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to find the
And
real answer.
It feels good. You can go to it as a place to be on your own.
And I think the healing your own wounds, doing your own work,
very big, important.
Big pearl of wisdom. Because at any time, not just to heal your wounds with your family, but for yourself, so that your relationships with the family that you bring in, your friendships, your partner, the family that you're going to create and also have to die as they get older. It's all about learning. And so what do you want that to look like? And there's no like, oh, I'll do it when. You have to start in the now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Just gets harder the longer you wait.
And then another one that I heard is compassion.
Huge.
Right? So is there anything else you would like our listeners to embody in the wisdom of your journey if they so happen to have to go through something similar, or perhaps they're in it right now?
The only thing that really just comes to mind is just what we've already stated, but I just think the golden rule still applies. Treat your parents. That's why I get upset when my sister is sarcastic or passive aggressive. It's like, is that how you want your son to treat you when you're on your deathbed?
But here's the thing. It's probably exactly the way he's going to treat her, because that's what's been taught. So
yeah.
You get what you give.
Yeah.
Just know that.
Yeah. 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 And remember who brought you into the world. And as aggravating as they can be, you have to have compassion and patience, such patience with them. I guess that's another key thing, is because it is like talking to toddlers and dealing with toddlers, and you will lose your temper.
And getting the
like
toddler
you do.
response, like,
yeah, you will lose your temper, and that's okay. You're human. But I do think you should apologize. Like, sorry, I lost my temper, but you were making me crazy.
Yes.
I would say that to my kids.
Oh, for sure.
I always said that. I'm sorry you're making me yell, but you're making me crazy. And it's like, then they have to own it too.
And also realize that your parents, if you're in this stage, aren't going to own anything.
Oh, God. And they're not going to change.
Not
92.
at the point where relationships are healing to that point. It's a managing and sitting in the truth of this is who they are, but not doing it in anger, doing it with compassion, like Donna said.
Yeah.
This is real. This is it. They're not changing. They're not shifting. And if they do, fantastic. But if that is even an iota of a expectation or hope, you're gonna be very disappointed.
Yeah. It's just icing on the cake to get them to change at that point. And that's why your healing is so important, that you have to do the healing, and then you see how it changes everybody around you.
And the way you look at things, the way you perceive it, the way you step into it.
And the physical part too. Can't forget that, is that the more you heal on the inside, you heal on the physical level too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's lighter. It's lighter over here. Right? It's lighter. It is. It's healthier. It's mentally, nothing's taking rent up in your head.
Yeah.
You're not perseverating over things because it's not yours.
Yeah. I like that. It's not taking, that's what I like about meditation.
Yes.
Nobody
clears
gets
all the rent. Everybody's got to pay up and it's all gone. We start fresh. Donna, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. My pleasure.
That's a great place to end. I feel like the compassion, the wisdom that you have shared with us, and being real. It's hard. It's emotional. There are things that you can pull from it to make it worth it.
Yeah, because things could always be a lot worse.
Oh, always.
I see situations way worse than anything close to what I'm in. So, like, count my blessings. Could be a lot worse.
So I thank you for sharing your story with us. I feel like you've really given us a good look at what it means to step into caregiving at a time where life is supposed to be opening up.
Yeah.
And thank you for being honest about it's kind of shitty at points, right? You're still doing it. You're finding the good, but also being real with the point that like, you don't get to do your stuff.
Yeah.
And that is a reality. But also I see people trying to sugarcoat that like, oh no, I'll have my time, because we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So just having a very honest viewpoint and a sharing of the ugly, the messy, the sibling tension.
Yeah.
That's real. And so for anyone who's listening who finds themselves in the squeeze, pulled between kids launching and parents needing more, know this: you are not alone. There's no perfect balance, but there is honesty, resilience, and ability to keep showing up for yourself and for the people you love. I hope today's conversation gave you both validation and a little space to breathe. And as we continue the unexpected, we'll be reflecting on how these roles don't just change what we do, they reshape who we are. Our shift has ended for today. Stay curious, stay present, and stay in truth.